Hey everybody, this is Kaous Games. Today I'm going to talk about is I'm going to do a little bit of something different here. I want to do a review of Evil Within because I just got finished playing on the PS4 a second ago. Played it pretty thoroughly. Had some thoughts on it, so I'll give a review. But I also want to do is do a little bit of spoiler talk at the end too. So I'll let you know when that is if you haven't beat the game. So if you just want to see the review, uh, and then watch that. But I'll let you know so you can turn it off if you don't want to hear spoiler talk. But I had some fascination with the story in this game, even though people crapped on it, but a little bit more than usual. But I had some intrigue to me about it. Um, so let's talk about the game itself. It's a good traditional survival horror game. What stands out to me is it has the benefits and the several of the flaws of your survival Japanese survival horror games. It's a little bit clunky on the controls at times. It's not as smooth as I'd like at times. No real dodge button, so you're forced to run around with a little bit, and sometimes you can't really dodge enemy attacks as well as you want. It's plagued by a lot of the things that Japanese survival horror games are plagued by. But other than that, I don't really have much else bad to say about it. I mean, of course, that does knock it down a couple points. Another thing it suffers from, I'll say Last of Us spoiled me when it came to survival horror melee combating. Now, I wouldn't have been so mad with Evil Within had they just allowed him to throw a 1-2 punch every now and then. I mean, just wailing on him. I use melee a lot in the games, especially because you have to conserve ammo. It's survival horror. Ammo's rare, so you really gotta be cautious where you use your supplies, which I like. I don't like having a plethora of ammunition just to waste and throw away. I like the. That's why the biggest complaint with Resident Evil 6 was is you were unconstrained. It was more of an action game because of that, because you had virtually unlimited access to ammunition, and you could just it was basically a third-person shooter at that point. It wasn't a bad third-person shooter. I wouldn't say people crapped on Resident Evil 6. I don't care. It was a good action game. It was a good action game, and I enjoyed it. But that's not why we're here, though. Let's talk about Evil Within. Back on track. I liked it, and I'll tell you why. Other than that, other than the melee thing, where it's your standard. Just the one hand in it. I don't. You got two hands, dude. Throw a couple left hooks in there every now and then, or if you're gonna butt somebody in the head with a gun, okay, I understand you have the gun equipped. You don't need to do too much fancy with the gun. You're not gonna be doing anything crazy. But if you have your fist out, I want to see some 1-2 punching. I know it can be done. It's not that much to ask. In Last of Us, they went above and beyond, and you're going at it with 1-2 punches, and you're slamming heads against the wall, and it was perfect. Last of Us was perfect in that realm. Now, actually, I will say Last of Us, in terms of survival horror, was more of a story-oriented game. They didn't really try to make it too creepy. It was, it's a game with a good story. Last of Us was a good game with a good story, a great game with a good story, a great story, and it had zombies like creatures in it as the primary protagonist with some humans in there. I mean, it was more of a kind of like a Walking Dead-esque kind of a commentary on what a world with zombies in it would be like. Not really a survival horror game so much. This was a traditional survival horror game, with the weird grotesqueries and twisted acid trippy type stuff. More so than most in this game, and I loved it. The diversity in environments in this game was amazing to me. You end up in a sane asylum. You're in the wooded area. You're in caverns. You're in gothic graveyard castle with mixed in mixed in modern technologies in them. Your hallmarks of Resident Evil games, which is makes sense because that's the guy who made this game was behind Resident Evil 4. But yeah, you have old manners. It's very gothic, and then these environments switch at the drop of a hat. It's hard to track this game, and with the plot of the game, it makes so much sense to why that happens, and it becomes clearer and clearer why this is happening as it goes on. At first, you're like, why is this? What just happened? How did things escalate so quickly? Why did it go to shit so quickly? Those answers, you're picking up on the story as the story goes on. You're starting to figure out more and more things. It's kind of like, you're reading journals and things. You're getting a picture of why the world that you find yourself is the way that it is. And I really like that they don't actually come out and tell you what's going on. It's kind of like what they do in Dark Souls, like item descriptions, and I feel like that's a, good way. It makes the intrigue a little bit better in the game. So, and actually there were legit sections where I was, I will say that as I first started, it wasn't so bad. I mean, honestly, I started playing them. Okay, it's pretty standard survival horror. You're in this wood, but things start flipping around. Things start going at ape shit, and then I start getting more and more unnerved as the game goes on. And I'm pretty sturdy. I'm not. I don't get creeped out. I mean, it didn't have any. There's not too much that gets me unnerved or bothered. Let's keep playing. Oh, that's entertaining. Dead Space, for example, first one, second one, they didn't really bother me too much. A couple, eyebrow raising points. But this game, I will say, even within more than most survival horrors I've ever played, got me slightly unnerved. And that's saying a lot, because it takes a lot to get me unnerved. Especially as I start going through and dealing with more and more stuff. I think if you really want to scare me, give me a situation where I can't kill it. You know what I'm saying? Give me a situation where I have to get away from it and do other things. And you're in a frantic environment trying to get away, and you're dealing with the environment, and you're dealing with something that will kill you if you catch, but you can't kill it back. And they did that. They played on that a lot in this game, and I really enjoyed that. And the situations they put you in were like I said, they got pretty unnerving at times to me. So I will say, if you're a fan of there was some there was some critique about the player not being relatable. I mean, what do you want Kaous to do? That's the main character of the game. What do you want him to do? Be witty and stuff. He's a random, ordinary cop in this weird situation. He handled it better than he probably should have been able to handle it, honestly. He was, I don't really see much wrong with the guy. He's just, he's no better or worse than your standard survival horror protagonist, Leon Kennedy. I mean, obviously he didn't have Leon Kennedy's combat ability or special training. He's a cop, a detective in this crazy situation. Now, so I'll say that if you're a fan of survival horror, this is probably one of the better entries in the survival horror genre that I've dealt with in a long time. Better than any. It's actually a survival horror genre game. Probably at times a little bit more action based than it should have been. You're on trucks. You're using turrets and rocket launchers. You could have probably avoided that to be considered more. So it started to cross into the realm of action a little bit, but it's excusable. It was entertaining, very entertaining. But I will say it's worth a buy, even if you have the nerve for it. It's well made, and it's a unique experience. The way they craft the experience with the just the overall trippiness of the whole game. It's a trip. It's a trip, and it's not that short either. It took me over 10-15 hours, about 10-15 hours to beat it, which is long for most games. It doesn't really take me that long to beat games. I beat them pretty quick. Yeah, I would say go get it. It's worth it. I mean, it deserved its overall positive commercial reviews. It was good. Now, on to spoiler talk, what I really want to talk about today. The nature of the story. Now, for people who completed the game, level with me here. What do you think about this? When I completed the game, there was a couple inconsistencies that got me. They either would indicate a major plot holes in the story or genius writing and implications of such, right? Now, we know Ruvik, the main villain of the game, as you know. We found out he's a disembodied brain, and in fact, you were jacked into his mind, which is why all this crazy shit were happening. You're literally in the mind of a madman. He's influencing that world. That's why he's so God mode, because his freaking mind here, he knows how to control the environment. He's fucking shit up. He's trying to fuck with you. That's what he's doing. We understand that, and he's doing all this crazy stuff to you. And that's cool. What gets me, though, is at the end of the game, you notice when you get jacked out of the game, when you seemingly crush his brain in his world, you get out the game, you pull the jack out, Kaous pulls the jack out, he walks out the door, and, he's out. Seemingly. At first glance, that's what it looks like. Right? No harm, no foul. But inconsistencies in that scenario really bugged me. He gets out. Leslie's out too. The challenge kid who's there. And he goes downstairs, away out of the tower where they had him jacked in. Who's they, by the way? Right? And there's dead bodies on the floor still. All those dead bodies when you first enter the asylum for the first time. You walk up, the police are still there in the hallway, they're dead. The patients and orderlies, everybody's still dead. You walk out, the SWAT team comes in, the city's intact, which, whatever, right? But my question is how? What you glean from the game, right, when you play it is Ruvik was taken. He was forcibly taken from his research, which was atrocious to begin with, as you find from the end game items. He was a crazy bastard. And they disembodied this man's brain. They took his brain out and they put it in a container and started experimenting on it and creating and seeing what he did. And he created this world and they jacked people into his shit. Fuck people up. Right? Who's they though? Right? Who is they? This is the question. Now, who is they? So the question is, how do these things happen? How does this transpire? My hypothesis is maybe you didn't get out. Maybe Kaous never got out. Maybe you were never out. Maybe from the offset of the game, everybody was already in. That would make more sense. Because unless you mean to tell me as a game producer that Ruvik, as a disembodied brain, had the ability to physically manifest and cause that much havoc, which it does not, story-wise and lore-wise, from what we experience again, it does not seem that he has that ability, or else why would he say things like, you can't keep me here. I want to get out. He's trying to get out. That's Ruvik's goal. He wants to get out. That's why he wants Leslie. Why does he want Leslie? What would he need Leslie for? What would having Leslie do to further his goal of getting out? I will tell you, one scene is in the game is an indication of this to me, that he wanted to body snatch Leslie. He wanted to take over Leslie's body. And one particular scene in the game indicates to me that he may have actually succeeded at that. And everything that follows is just whatever. When you end up in the main control room, he actually gets a hold of Leslie and seemingly absorbs him. And they just downplay it from there like nothing has happened, right? But that was significant to me. I saw that. And the things that follow at the end indicate to me that Ruvik actually got out. He took over Leslie's mind. He got out. But you, however, Kaous, don't get out. You're still stuck in there because it wasn't ultimately Ruvik who put you in that world. It was whatever group probably whatever group put Ruvik in there in the first place. There's talk of, there's a backstory here. Kaous' backstory is that he had a daughter with his wife who was also a detective. I guess they were investigating something, and their daughter died in an accidental fire. Myra, his wife, started to follow his lead and started to believe that there was foul play involved. And she tracked it down. And then she disappeared, sent a packet back saying that, okay, I think I got a little too close to some stuff. And if you're getting this letter, that's it. So Kaous started to investigate himself. What if Kaous got too close too? And they put him in that world long before the events of the game. It would make more sense because let's think about this for a second. When you get there, Connolly, one of the very small side character in the game, the first zombie you actually encounter and kill, he's another police officer. He's out in the ambulance truck, and he drives away with you after the fact. But he's outside the whole time. He never comes in the asylum with you. Right? So, how does he get jacked in? You clearly at the end of the game see him jacked into the machine. With you and Joseph and Kidman. Kidman was obviously a part of this cabal. She was a part of this group who had put Ruvik into that machine or created that machine around him. We don't really know what the motivations for creating this machine were. At least I don't. Maybe you have some input. But I would say that they were in that from the start. Evidence of this being that when they were in the car at the beginning of the game, they heard that thing on the radio. You can already see them start to grab their head and have experienced symptoms of, I call it zombification or whatever. From the start of the game, before they even get into the mental asylum, indicates to me that they were all put there. Kidman was probably put there by a group. That's why she probably didn't experience effects of the world like they did, because she was put there under probably with certain checks and balances from the group who she was a part of. Okay? So that's my take on it. I think that they were actually in that from the start. I don't know what motivation they would have had to have put Joseph in there. Maybe he was investigating or helping Kaous too, right? Maybe he's helping him. There's no indication no evidence of that. That's hypothesis. But I know Kaous was investigating. Maybe he got put in there too. And maybe he never actually got out. They actually say these two aren't going anywhere, even though she did do this like she was going to help him out. I don't believe that Kaous actually got out. I think he's still in that machine, and he was in that machine before the game even started. So that's my thing. And if that's the case, that's what they were implying. That is some pretty genius writing. I think the story, them crapping on the story without actually investigating every aspect of it. Because if you have to really dig deeper to pick up on these little implications. That's what a lot of Japanese studios do, like Dark Souls, is heavy on implications. You gotta piece things together. You gotta do a little detective work. And I think that's what's going on here. Tell me what you guys think. If you've watched this long, or if you picked up similar things, or if you have a different idea, let me know. But anyway, Evil Within, good game. I enjoyed it greatly. Refreshing experience. So until next time, gamers, game on.